A serious scam becoming more and more common.
Seems like our cases have skyrocketed since COVID.
Crooks blackmail unsuspecting targets with explicit photos.
These guys definitely do everything they can to make you panic.
Tonight, how you can protect yourself from becoming a victim of sextortion.
Another senseless act of violence. A shooter opens fire on a hospital campus in Oklahoma.
We're seeing it more and more often, and this one really hit close to home.
Tonight we're learning at least one Coloradan was in the building when the shooter opened fire.
A man chases down his stolen truck only to end up on the hood.
The guy makes full eye contact with him and just runs him down.
Tonight, police are looking to put this person behind bars. It is a scam investigators are seeing more and more of. Crooks convince victims to share explicit photos only to turn around and then use those images to demand money.
Denver 7 CB Cotton talked with a man who fell to this scam and is now out $1,000.
Essentially, I met someone on a dating app, talked a bit there, and then started texting.
The texting quickly escalated for this Denver man who has asked us to conceal his identity and disguise his voice.
They sent some pictures and, asked for some kind of in return, and not really something I normally do.
But he sent photos back.
Pictures that I wouldn't really want people to see.
And then was blackmailed with them.
They had, pictures of all my social media, just pages of screen grabs of all my followers and friends on there. They wanted $1,000.
And he paid up because he didn't want to pay the price of humiliation. The scammer threatened to send the photos to all of his loved ones. He's not the only one.
These victims, they don't want themselves exposed to the world, so they're willing to pay money if they can. So I think, like so many other scams, it works.
They're called Sextortion Scams. Matt Peterson of Homeland Security Investigations, or HSI, says they happen when a person meets someone online. Explicit photos are shared and then used as blackmail.
I think in general they're targeting juveniles far more often than adults, but we have seen adults targeted as well.
Peterson and an undercover detective from Aurora Police serve on Colorado's Cyber Guardian Task Force. Over the past 2 years, they've investigated nearly 24 sextortion cases.
It seems like our cases have skyrocketed since COVID.
And they have. HSI telling Denver 7, in 2020, they received 25 tips about sextortion. That number climbing to more than 200 tips already this year.
I think you have kids who are online, on the internet, a lot more. They're staying home. People in the workforce, these pedophiles and predators, are staying home more.
The only way to protect yourself, be leery of strangers you meet online.
These scams, they will meet the kid or an adult. Very quickly it turns sexual, and then very quickly it goes to, I want to send you a nude, will you send me a nude? And that should be a red flag.
And always report to police.
We do have abilities to trace these, even if they're overseas, that there's sometimes, depending on the jurisdiction and the relationship we have in various countries, we've had some success in being able to target and prosecute overseas as well.
This Denver man has filed a police report, but he knows his money is long gone.
Yeah, I had panic for, 24 hours basically. Like I had a panic attack.
And investigators believe most of these crooks behind this scam are based overseas. And the victim we spoke with, he's not a juvenile, but nonetheless, you can imagine this was a very scary situation for him. Homeland Security Investigations has several resources to combat sextortion. We've got those linked on the denverchannel.com. In the newsroom, I'm CB Cotton, Denver 7.
All right, CB, thank you. And federal authorities say 70 missing children have been located, some of them found here in Colorado. This was a result of a 3-week investigation called Operation Lost Souls. Homeland Security says the children range in age from 10 to 17 and include victims of sex trafficking and physical and sexual abuse. Now we're awaiting word on just how many of these kids were located in Colorado, where, how, why, and officials say most of them were found in West Texas and Mexico. And listen, if you believe that you have witnessed human trafficking or perhaps you're a victim yourself, there are resources ready to help. You can call the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 888-373-7888. Again, that number right there on your screen. You can also text the words help or info to 233-733. That information also on your screen right now.
Another terrifying shooting in America, this time in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where 4 people were killed inside a medical building. Police say the shooter is also dead. This happened on the campus of St. Francis Health inside a building that houses an outpatient center. Tonight we've learned at least one Coloradan was in the building during the shooting. Jamie and Jay Thompson both work at that center, and in an interview with the radio station in her hometown of Steamboat, Jamie said that her husband was in there but made it out unharmed.
It's a clinic that my husband works in every day and knows these people, so it's just absolutely devastating to see this happen. And so far, we know a few people that didn't make it out, and these are just another one of those things that you never want to see happen. And it feels like we're seeing it more and more often, and this one really hit close to home.
Police say the shooter was armed with a rifle and handgun, and they believe that the suspect died by suicide. Police have not identified the shooter or any of the victims, and there's also no word yet on any injuries or a potential motive. And the shooting in Tulsa comes as our nation continues to mourn the 19 students and 2 teachers killed at Robb Elementary in Uvalde, Texas. Today, more families said their final goodbyes to the victims. Funeral services were held today for Jose Flores. You may remember the 10-year-old who was recognized for good grades just hours before the shooting. Also laid to rest today, teacher Irma Garcia, who shielded her students from the gunfire. She was laid to rest alongside her husband, who died from a heart attack 2 days after losing his wife of nearly 25 years.
And the tragedy in Texas has reignited calls for new gun control and safety legislation. Tomorrow, the House Judiciary Committee will vote on a package of bills named the Protecting Our Kids Act. It would raise the age to purchase a semi-automatic rifle to 21, create new federal offenses for gun trafficking and for selling large capacity magazines. It would also create a new tax credit for the sale of safe storage devices. The full House could vote on the act as soon as next week, and in the meantime, a bipartisan group of senators is also negotiating possible gun control measures. And to up the ante in active shooter training, the Denver Police Department is providing virtual training for their officers to go through the motions of an active shooter situation. They've had this virtual program in their headquarters for years now, but recently incorporated it into their standard training. And one instructor says they can analyze the officer's response better than they could in a live action training.
We can rewind and we can show at this moment, this is what happened, and we can even show like accuracy of shots, where if we try to do this in some form of live format, we wouldn't be able to do those things.
The Denver Police Department is one of the few departments around the state that has this kind of program. Now take a good look at this surveillance video. An Aurora man is hit as he tries to stop a thief who had just stolen his truck. Now that man is shaken, but he is expected to make a full recovery.
Today, his son spoke with Denver 7's Rob Harris as police look to put this thief in handcuffs.
It certainly wasn't the call John Wanberg was expecting to get the morning of Memorial Day.
I was actually going out and I was going to meet my dad for breakfast, and as I was driving out, I got a call from my mom that was actually a butt dial, and she was driving him to the hospital.
Wanberg's dad was running a quick errand before the holiday family plans, dropping off some trash in a lot off Kingston Street in Aurora.
He had left the keys in the car was idling as he got in and opened the gate.
At the exact same time, around 8 o'clock in the morning, surveillance video shows this man walking a dog past the alley where the truck was idling. The man seems to case the alley, then jumps into the truck and starts to drive away.
My dad saw that the car was rolling and thought he'd forgotten to put it in gear. And so he comes running after it in order to try and stop it from rolling into traffic. And then it stops in the road. The guy makes full eye contact with him and just runs him down.
The impact broke 4 ribs. Thankfully, Wanberg says his dad will be okay, but he's looking at about 3 months of recovery ahead of him. He's also looking for his truck and the man who stole it.
The guy who stole it was walking his dog. He's not coming from far away. And so it just really seems to me like as a community, you know, someone knows something. Someone has seen this man before, someone has seen him walking his dog, he's fairly distinctive.
Aurora police have not identified any suspects in this case. If you recognize the man in the video, or if you've seen this 1992 Toyota truck, you should contact Metro Denver Crime Stoppers.
It's the kind of thing where as a community it feels like we should be able to say enough is enough and to do our best to take him off the streets.
Aurora police also want us to share this message with you tonight. No car is ever worth your safety. So if you find yourself in a similar situation in the future, do not chase after the thieves. Instead, call dispatch right away and have your license plate number and your VIN number handy. Taking pictures of those numbers on your phone ahead of time can help. For Denver 7, I'm Rob Harris.
Thank you, Robin. We have reported several times on the rise in vehicle thefts in Colorado. The latest numbers from the Department of Public Safety show that we're actually on pace to top last year's total. So through April, there have been more than 13,600 vehicle thefts, and the numbers for May will not be available until next month. But if that pace keeps up, Colorado will top 40,000 thefts by the end of the year. In comparison, there were more than 36,000 vehicle thefts in 2021 and more than 28,000 in 2020.
And new tonight, the state health department now says it cannot confirm that Colorado hospitals have received shipments of baby formula. In a release Tuesday, CDPHE said hospitals had gotten shipments over the weekend. Well, officials say state agencies are working with Colorado families to help them locate formula during this nationwide shortage.
The White House tonight announcing it will forgive all remaining federal student debt for former students in the Corinthian colleges chain. Students who attended the for-profit college between 1995 and when it filed for bankruptcy in 2015 will have their student loan debt automatically canceled. In all, that will raise $5.8 billion in debt. Corinthian colleges operated the Everest College system, which had campuses in Aurora, Colorado Springs, and Thornton.
Just in the 50s to low 60s today, but these 70s are on the way for tomorrow.
Education on wheels.
To me, equity means this: being accessible and being affordable.
A bus bringing school to students instead of students to school.
And on to the finals. A Colorado kid is one step closer to being crowned our nation's top speller.